A disturbing day for neighbors.
That's crazy, living next door to someone, like you see them out in the open, it's just normal, but you don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
That's someone they always see interacting with the 3 kids that live next door.
Easter, 2 weeks ago, playing, they had bought a bunch of chickens, he made a chicken coop for the kid.
Would be capable of these accusations, sexual abuse against a child. LCSO's child protection team spoke to the 2 siblings of the girl. They said there were times Canfield was alone with their sister.
It's weird, real weird for me. Being so close.
LCSO also spoke to their mother. She told deputies her child had no injuries when she left for work, but the medical staff found signs of physical and sexual abuse when the 2-year-old got to the hospital.
My assumption is that the prosecutor will ask for a relatively high bond on each of the specific charges.
Attorney Logan Goldberg tells me Canfield is looking at prison time.
It's a gut-wrenching case, and I don't think there's anyone that could not fight off emotions when listening to the facts of this case, regardless of what side you're on.
Kelly, deputies tell me that this all started right here in this home. The suspects demanded to get inside those doors and then allegedly shot the male and female victims. Early this morning, around 6 a.m.,
Sí, el helicóptero bajó. Aquí dio vuelta y luego ya bajó a la calle y sacaron.
this neighbor tells me she saw a helicopter land on Highway 17 in front of her home.
Una persona en camilla así, con sábana tapado, pero yo no vi cabeza. No.
She says she saw a man being carried out of this house to the helicopter on a stretcher. 33-year-old Ian Hildebrand and 32-year-old Braun Valdemar Lucas are accused of demanding to get inside this home. Deputies say they shot the 2 people living there, a man and a woman. They then took the female hostage in their car.
I think rationally and reasonably we can list all sorts of things that people should do, but the truth is when you're in a life-threatening situation, you go on automatic pilot.
Dr. Laura Streffler tells me in that situation, it's typically fight or flight.
In a life or death situation, there is no should. It's about staying alive.
The female victim told deputies the suspects took her because she sold them fake drugs. Fortunately, DeSoto County Sheriff's Office was able to stop them and rush the female victim to the hospital. The male victim who stayed at the house was also transported to a trauma center. Right now, we are working to find out how those victims are doing. As for the suspects, they're each facing 2 charges of attempted murder and 1 charge of home invasion with a deadly weapon. I'm reporting live in DeSoto County. Annaliese Garcia, NBC2. So what was it that you did write on the wall, and you told everybody that you did write on the wall?
Chucky Dookie Boo.
That's the voice of 12-year-old Aaliyah Riley. And what's that?
A nickname.
Riley told investigators that's all she wrote on the bathroom wall, her nickname.
My client, Ms. Riley, was initially charged with a written threat to conduct a mass shooting at her school.
Riley's attorney, Harley Brook, says that charge has been dropped.
The criminal mischief is a charge that is more conducive to what she actually did, which is she did scribble on the wall. That's not something that she was denying, but certainly not making the threat.
Riley's mother, Jamisha Monk, tells me her daughter was getting picked on in school for something she didn't do.
Did you shoot up a school? Did you say you're going to shoot the school up? And she would have to, she's constantly having to tell people, no, I didn't do it, no, I didn't do it. They're still saying, no, you did do it.
Riley's attorney says this wasn't an easy process for his client.
She felt like she was in a position that she was being accused of something that she didn't do.
But Aaliyah tells me she was clear from the start.
I told you that I was not guilty.
Now Aaliyah has to go through a special program. Her attorney tells me because of that, the criminal mischief charge has a chance of being dropped as well. Live in the newsroom tonight, I'm Annaliese Garcia, NBC2.
I call myself a red diaper baby.
Marxism and propaganda.
That America was the enemy of the human race and it was our duty to destroy America.
It was all he knew.
I grew up in a communist household.
At the age of 8, Ismael Hernandez was selling communist propaganda on the streets of Puerto Rico. By 12, he was listening to 8-hour speeches by dictators like Fidel Castro.
Como profeta de la revolución.
And at 17, he followed in his father's footsteps.
Eventually, I joined the party with him.
For years, he says the FBI followed his father because of his communist activity.
So they thought we were spies, that we were conspiring to end the American presence in Puerto Rico, and it's true, we were.
But at 25 years old, Hernandez moved to Mississippi for school.
So you can imagine this black Puerto Rican boy who hates America lands in Dixie.
He started reading the kinds of books he had never been exposed to before.
That's Yankee propaganda. You stay away from that.
With information like nothing that he'd been taught.
And things were not exactly as my father used to say. My lungs were filled with the breath of freedom when I came to America. And I rejected Marxism and socialism as false.
After school, he ended up in Fort Myers, fully embracing democracy.
Yes.
He founded the Freedom and Virtue Institute, educating children and adults in poor and minority communities about their freedoms.
We do it by showing them simple, practical ways of meeting their needs through work.
All the money that we make, will basically go to us.
Hernandez tells me his goal is to show people in poverty how not to be dependent.
Because if I'm a poor person and you tell me you're going to take care of me, I'll let you.
Like making their own products to sell.
We don't introduce new activities. We redefine existing activities that are already happening in the schools that have entrepreneurial potential.
Teaching self-reliance.
And that is teaching the kids that, they are capable of getting out of poverty by their own effort.
And giving them a taste of freedom.
And once you taste that, you don't want dependency.
Hernandez says his father died as a communist in his 90s, with the FBI following him until his death. But even though their beliefs were different, he credits his father with making him the man he is today.
Don't be a fence-sitter, he told me. If that's what you say you believe, you better fight for it, because that's what he did.